Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where we have to say we completely and utterly understand if Israeli subscribers want to unsubscribe from this YouTube channel. The thought that Eli, the computer guy, is horrified by what their country is doing, I know is something that they just cannot accept. The only thing that I ask is, before you go, could you please leave our F-35s by the door? And perchance at this party, if you run into Egypt, can you tell them to give us our money back too? Maybe a couple of the other countries that we are literally paying billions or tens of billions of dollars a year for them to be your friends. Could we get that money back too? That would be ever so lovely. You can go the fuck away and we can get our crap back, and therefore we'll all be happy. I do find it funny. I get some of the Israeli folks out there, they are so mad. They are so mad simply because I do not want to help fund their idiocy. I don't want my tax money going to their idiocy. I don't want our debt going to their idiocy. I don't want my country's name to be smeared day after day for the disgraceful support that we continuously show to their country. And that makes me a horrible person. Anyways, I'm against starving babies. It's just a weird quirk I have. But anyways, the modern world. Oh, it is just so wackadoodle. So Donald Trump, I do find this to be interesting. Donald Trump apparently only has one tool in his tool chest, and that is tariffs. And by God, he will use tariffs on everything. And I'll remind you, tariffs are taxes to the American people, right? He came out, he crowed about the fact that this year they had brought in like $100 billion in tariffs to prove how well his program was working. Wow, taxing the ever-loving crap out of the American people, taxing the people that can afford it the least with no way for them to get out of it. That's the Trump economy. But I've talked about this before with these tariffs, where, you know, with the whole China thing, it's like, okay, so we have a trade disparity with China. Absolutely. Now, a lot of that has to do because we created it. But anyways, right? So if you want to put tariffs on China, like, whether or not you agree with that strategy or that tactic or whatever else, you can understand where he might be coming from. But then there's this whole thing with illegal immigrants and supposedly fentanyl coming up from Canada and or coming up from Mexico and theoretically from Canada. And then all of a sudden he starts putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada because of illegal immigration and drugs. And you're like, well, they are right on our borders, and we do have this issue, and it seems like a bad way of trying to go about this policy, but I guess maybe vaguely. But then we have the BRICS countries, right? The BRICS countries are concerned because we're being all wackadoodle with our economy, and especially with the U.S. dollar. So they talk about creating their own currency. And then all of a sudden, anybody who supports the BRICS countries gets another 10% tariff. And you're like, well, what? And then Bolsonaro down in Brazil, he's being prosecuted down there for crimes. Trump thinks that's illegitimate. So then Brazil is going to get more tariffs. Wait, what? So Americans are going to get massively taxed because Brazil is prosecuting Bolsonaro. Remember that, like with Colombia, right? We're trying to send illegal immigrants back to Colombia. And then they said no, they wouldn't allow the plane to land. So it was like 25% tariffs on you. And you're like, wow. Like all the Trump administration has is tariffs. They have one play, and one play only, which is concerning. Like their entire kit and caboodle is taxing the American public. They will continue to whip the shit out of the American public until you surrender. I don't like this plan. I don't like this plan very much. And so that's what we have now with Canada, right? Because Israel is losing the world. They maybe be losing the war, but they are losing the world. Day after day after day of the slaughter, and for them just coming out and stating they're completely A-okay with war crimes. Their democratic country is A-okay with war crimes. I talked about this in one of my previous videos. The Knesset, a few days ago, like last week, literally voted. It was something like 73-13, something along those lines, like massive, like majority, voted to annex the West Bank. Right? To illegally annex this territory into Israel because they have now literally stated that any land that they believe should be part of Israel is part of Israel. When China says they believe that they should have Taiwan and they believe that they should have Tibet and they believe X, Y, or Z, we lose our minds and we build another 100 B-2 bombers just to prove to them that if they do something we dislike, we may or may not actually bomb them. Israel basically does the exact same horse crap, and we're like, dum-de-dum. Good for you. Good for you. Would you like another bomb, young man? So anyways, right, this is losing the interest of the world. Right, I've talked about this before, where France is going to be recognizing Palestine in September. The UK, United Kingdom, is going to be recognizing Palestine in September. Basically, with the idea being, Israel has proven they have zero interest in a two-state solution. They have zero interest in stopping the idiocy. So maybe if more and more pressure is put on them from the outside world, maybe they'll change their minds, which isn't how supremacists work. Hey, anyways, the curious thing is, so Canada has come out also in support of recognizing Palestinian state, basically September. So everybody comes out, they recognize a Palestinian state. Is going to theoretically be more difficult for Israelis to continue murdering Palestinians in their own state. For some reason, I don't know, it's politics. But surprise, Trump doesn't like that. Because remember, in an America First policy, we always have to make sure who's really first. Which again, is just frustrating. It's why did we perform an act of war on Iran? An act of war that did not go through the congressional process. We just simply committed an act of war against Iran because somebody snapped their fingers. America first. You know. And so now this is the latest thing. From Trump, coming from yesterday, Truth Social. Wow! Canada has just announced that it is backing statehood for Palestine. That will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal with them. Oh, Canada! Why? It is America first, and it's about American citizens, and you're taxing the ever-living shit out of the American citizens for your dumbass tariff policies. Why does what Canada does or does not recognize halfway around the world have one goddamn thing to do with our trade policies? Well, because America first. Right? And then we get today that Trump is now putting a 35% tariff onto Canada. So I guess it was at 25%. It is now getting ratcheted up to 35% because of fentanyl and bullshit, Palestine, right? And so this is the world that we're currently dealing with. How these tariffs actually work out get exceedingly confusing because there is, the USMCA, right? The thing that came after NAFTA. So NAFTA was very easy to say. Then you have the USMCA, which is basically what Trump, right, negotiated, that is after NAFTA. So apparently things that are part of the UCMA are not part of these 35% tariffs, but things that are outside of that are part of these 35% tariffs. But basically the idea being put out there by, it appears, that Trump and by his lackeys and all the minions of the Netanyahu administration. I mean, look, we've got to abide by our leaders. The most important thing about a democratic country is that our leaders tell us what the hell to do. And if Netanyahu tells us what to do, chop chop now, we gotta go do it, right? And so that's basically what's coming out here, is that Canada is now being punished with these 35% tariffs because they're recognizing the Palestinian state. At the end of the day, what this means is Americans are being punished for Canada recognizing the Palestinian state, which turns into even more of a mess, right? I've talked about this before with the whole thing with tariffs, where it'll be curious to see where this all falls out in the next year or so, right? We have not had the absolute disaster that could have happened because of these tariffs up until now, but also we haven't had the full strength of the tariffs up until now. An important thing to understand is business owners, right? The managers, supervisors, all those types of people are trying to figure out what the hell to do in this very chaotic environment. And also within this very chaotic environment, there is stockpiles of goods, there is warehouses, there are inventory, different places, and so we have tariffs come in and then they go away, and then they come in and then they go away. At the exact same time, companies are buying and they're drawing down in inventories, and all these other kinds of things are happening. So it'll be curious to see where this all flushes out. I talked about this with the Great Recession, right? When the Great Recession happened, when Bear Stearns fell, I didn't care. When the real estate market got hit, I didn't care. When the next people got hit, I didn't care. I didn't care until like April. April after Bear Stearns fell is when it actually started affecting us. And I think that's what's going to happen here with a lot of this stuff with like this tariff policy. But the issue that it shows you as a business owner that deals with business in any other country, that it is very hard to plan and very hard to understand even what our tariff policy is going to be, right? If you have a sane tariff policy, right? If the person in the White House wasn't a senile old loser, right, that is on his knees every day begging for people to be impressed with him, you might come up with a policy where that people can actually grasp what the hell is going on, right? Okay, so we have a trade surplus or trade deficit with this country, so we are going to have these tariffs until trade equals or until we have a surplus. The issue is there are now countries being hit with tariffs where we actually have a trade surplus with them. Like, we literally have a trade surplus with these countries, and they're getting hit with tariffs. So it's not about surpluses. It's not actually about the trade deficit. It's not even about the drugs. It's not even about illegal immigration or whatever else. It is literally, this tariff policy is literally based off of whatever idiotic idea goes to the senile loser's head that particular day. And the question is how do you run your business going forward in this environment? It's interesting now, right? We've hit August 1st. I think I'm recording this on, yep, it is August 1st. And so we've hit August 1st, and August 1st is the deadline, the D-Day deadline for tariffs. But it's not actually today. It's going to be the 7th, because anyways. So today is the deadline. That'll happen on the 7th. And there's all this stuff, there's all these discussions about trade agreements and that type of thing. But the curious thing with Trump is he can blow them all up. Literally, he's even come out and stated that he doesn't have to abide by the trade agreements that he's already created, right? So these people come to him, they create these dumbass trade agreements, and he's already said he doesn't have to abide by this horse crap if he doesn't want to. And so where the hell does that put us? Where does that put business owners and the rest of us who rely on so many products and services that are coming from the rest of the world? I don't know. It'll be curious. It'll be curious to see at the end of the day. But the good thing to know is that Trump is more than willing to punish the shit out of the American people so that everybody knows where we stand with Israel. Yay. So let's see here. So my tax money is going to Israel. My debt is increasing because of Israel, and my taxes are now literally going up because of Israel so that they can slaughter more Palestinian babies. Yeah. The funny thing, dear Israelis, notice with all of these videos, you know I never bring up the Torah. I have never once talked about on page 364, Act whatever, Ezekiel, this is where the Torah is whatever. You know I don't bring up the Torah. Right? And even gefilte fish, I will bring up gefilte fish. But I'm telling you, you don't have to do that to yourself. You don't. It is hard enough being Jewish in the modern world. You do not have to force yourself to eat gefilte fish too. You can forget the gefilte fish. You'll notice I'm not talking about high holy days. I'm not talking about weird hairdos. I'm not talking about all of that. You don't want to talk to people like me. I mean, that's a hilarious thing. I mean, think about this, right? We have to support these people so that their ultra-religious folks can ignore people that are unlike them, right? I don't talk about any of that kind of crap. I just talk about I don't want my tax money. I don't want my debt. I don't want to be taxed and punished for your fucking idiocy. But anyways, apparently in the modern world, that's anti-Semitic. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about Trump punishing the American people because Canada is going to support Palestinian statehood? What do you think about this? More and more of who were our allies, the allies that are no longer truly our allies, more and more of them supporting the Palestinian state. Again, France now, you got the UK, you got Canada, you got more countries coming on board. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about this fracturing going on? How do you feel about the fact that people don't seem to care so much about American power, right? Trump in 6 months has already fractured American power that's been created over 100 years. What do you think about all of that? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Dear Canadians, dude, is it batshit crazy? Look, Canadians, you have every right to be pissed. And you have no reason to listen to me. Dear Canadians, you have no reason to listen to me. All I want you to know, dear Canadians, is this jackass won by 2% of the popular vote. Right? To be clear, Kamala Harris was one of the worst presidential candidates in U.S. history. We had a dead presidential candidate that did not even want to give up the election, right? Even though he was dead. Anyways, he went through half through. Then we had Kamala Harris. We had one of the worst candidates in history. And Trump only won by actually 2% of the popular vote. So for any Canadians out there, or anybody else around the world, just realize that. Otherwise, yeah. Oh, they're 6 months into this. So I guess that means we're down to three and a half more years. We only have 3.5 more years of tariffing this and tariffing that and tariffing the other thing by executive order. Do you remember when we complained about the imperial presidency of Bush? Like Bush actually had to have Congress agree with him. Like that. Remember during the Bush era, and that was the thing. Is like Bush wanted something. And then Congress that he controlled, because it was Republican Congress, would agree, and they would put it through the legislative process. So it actually went through the legislative process. It was incredibly just one-sided. We called that the imperial presidency. Remember that? Remember that? Remember when Congress like pretended to do its job? I miss those days. Anyways, what do you think about all this? Put your thoughts down below. Remember, whether you like these videos, whether you dislike these videos, give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down, give me an amazing comment or a horrible comment. Tell me how horrible I am. How dare you not want to pay taxes to slaughter babies? You evil bastard. What you have to understand is, Eli, I'm tired. Dear Israelis, if you're watching, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm fucking tired of you people. All of my adult life, there has been the question of why the fuck we support Israel. Going back to the first Gulf War and why we spent so much time and energy to support Israel. My entire adult life, and I've now been an adult, getting to be a long time. To be clear, at the end of the day, I'm just fucking tired of you people. I am tired of you dragging us into your insane shit all the time and knowing that we're gonna back you up for some goddamn reason. No matter who complains, no matter who in our country says enough is enough, it doesn't matter. You own our politicians. I remember back with Hagel, Congressman Hagel, somewhere around 2010, right? And so back in 2010 era, right, there's this whole question about how the global community affects things like American law, right? And at that time period, there had literally been a case that was decided, and one of the reasons the judge in the case decided the way that she did was because of international legal norms. Literally came out and said, because of the current state of international legal norms, this is how the case should be decided. And people were up in arms. People were up in arms, right? International legal norms is not the Constitution. International legal norms is not common law in the United States. International legal norms are what they are, but that should be part of the U.S. legal process, right? And that was one of the big arguments, right? So we're involved with the global war on terror and all that kind of stuff. And there's this whole question about international influence onto our legal and government system. And so anyways, Congressman Hagel comes out again about 2010. Literally, I remember seeing the press conference or whatever, and he was like, yes, you know, I feel that the Israeli lobby has too much influence over the U.S. government. Right? That's all he said. And to be clear, this was me 15 years ago. I didn't have any white in my beard, anything like that. I had a little bit more hair on my head, and it's like, okay, that's fair enough. Right? A country has too much influence over our legislative process. Didn't think twice about it. Oh my God, the next day, Hagel came out, sputtering. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my Israeli masters. I didn't mean it. My God, I watched that guy sit there and sputter and spit and apologize for ever stating that Israel had too much influence over the U.S. government. And I was like, wait a minute. Hey, yeah, honestly, yesterday when he said Israel had too much influence, I mean, that was just a normal statement. That was just like, yeah, okay. I wasn't actually concerned. This motherfucker comes out sputtering, begging Mazza for forgiveness. Right? And we see this time and time again. You get the AOC, you get the squad. I am not a fan of the squad by any stretch of the imagination. You know me. AOC ain't for me, right? AOC, Tabard, the rest of them, right? Anyways, they'll come out supporting the Palestinians, you know, being anti-Israel, right? And this is the Democrats. And Pelosi will try to crush them. There will not be a discussion on how far should we go. Again, should we support the Iron Dome? We will offer a backstop for the Iron Dome so there are enough munitions for the Iron Dome to remain effective. Right? That's okay. Like what do we actually as an Americans want to support? No. By God, Israel will get all the F-35s they want. They will get all the fucking bombs they want. They will get all the weapons they want. Right? Again, we saw this under Biden. Right? Weapons shipments going to Israel. Biden says, I want a commitment that these are not going to be used to slaughter civilians. Netanyahu comes out and says, motherfucker says, what? Boy, does not ask the Mazza whether or not Mazza's gonna do this or that or the other. Boy does what they're told. Right? And we just see this time and time and time again. And anyways, be curious to see how this all pans out at the end of the day. Will any of our politicians ever actually put America first? I don't know. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about the Americans being punished for Canada supporting Palestine? Yeah, as I said, put your thoughts down below. It's the modern world of YouTube. Doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. All that matters is that interaction. But I am clear with this. I'm tired of this shit. I don't want another fucking dime going to that shithole country. That shithole country. Netanyahu stated quite plainly, if we have to fight with our teeth and nails, we will. Deal, motherfucker, deal. Put the F-35s back on the ships, send them back, send our fucking weapons back, send all our fucking money back, and you can do your shit with your fucking teeth and nails. But anyways, that's all I gotta say. See y'all later.